So, have you ever stopped to think about what's more valuable in the long run? Is it that traditional college degree, or is it a set of real, practical, job-ready skills? It's a huge debate, and it feels like a real crossroads for so many of us in our careers.
In today's job market, which is moving faster than ever, what really makes a difference? Is it the piece of paper you hang on the wall, or is it the actual ability to build something, to create, to solve a real problem on day one? It's a tough one, and it's a question we're all grappling with.
Well, here's a thought. What if that's a false choice? What if you didn't have to pick one over the other? Imagine a pathway that actually blends learning with earning, theory with hands-on practice, right from the get-go. That's exactly what we're going to unpack today. All right, let's dive right in. The pathway we're talking about is vocational education. And really, at its core, it's a pretty simple but powerful idea. It's all about learning by doing.
Okay, so if we look at the official definition here, the key thing to remember is that this is not about burying your nose in a textbook. No, this is all about preparing people for very specific jobs. And we're talking about everything from carpentry and IT to hospitality and healthcare through real, hands-on training.
Now, when you look at these objectives, you start to see that this goes way beyond just getting someone a paycheck. This is a big strategic vision. It's about closing that massive gap between what you learn in a classroom and what an employer actually needs. It's about giving people the tools to start their own businesses, and for the country, it's about building a workforce that can actually power our industries.
And that leads us to the really big question. Why is this such a hot topic for India right now? What's the bigger picture we're looking at here?
Well, this isn't just about tweaking the education system. It's basically an engine for the whole country's progress. You create a skilled workforce, and boom, you're tackling unemployment head-on. More productivity fuels economic growth. And you can see how it all connects, right? It creates real opportunities for social upliftment, empowering people and entire communities to stand on their own 2 feet.
And let me tell you, the goal is seriously ambitious. The National Education Policy from 2020 is aiming for at least 50%, that's half of all learners in the country, to get exposure to vocational education by 2025. That is a massive national promise.
This quote right here just ties it all together perfectly. The Skill India mission and the Make in India ambition, they're not separate things. You simply can't have one without the other. If you want to build an innovative home, you absolutely need a highly skilled population first. They're two sides of the very same coin.
Now, even though this all feels very new and urgent, the whole idea of skill-based learning is actually deeply woven into India's history. So let's just take a quick trip back in time.
Back in ancient India, skills were passed down through the Gurukul system and apprenticeships. Then, during the colonial era, some technical schools popped up, but they were always kind of looked down on as a second-class option. After independence, different commissions started pushing for vocational streams, but it's really only now, with the National Education Policy 2020, that it's being properly integrated into the mainstream, finally getting the respect it deserves. So that's the history, but how is this big vision actually being put into action today? Let's take a look at the modern game plan for building these skills from the ground up.
The whole thing is designed like a journey, step by step. It starts really early, in primary school, with what they call a pre-vocational stage, just to build awareness and some basic skills. Then, in senior secondary, students can actually start to specialize. After that, they can go for more advanced training. And it doesn't just stop when you graduate. There's also a continuing stage for lifelong learning, so you can always keep your skills up to date.
This table really lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? You can see the clear path it creates. You start with just getting a feel for the world of work and school, then you get a real skill certificate, then you move on to full employability with advanced training. And finally, it's all about ensuring you can adapt for your entire career. It's a really comprehensive, lifelong approach.
But of course, a plan this huge is going to face some pushback, some challenges. It's super important to be realistic about the hurdles that are still on the road ahead.
And these hurdles are a big deal. The biggest one, you could argue, is the social stigma. This old-fashioned idea that vocational training is somehow less than an academic degree. Then there are the really practical problems, like not enough modern equipment, or a huge disconnect between what's being taught and what companies actually need. If the skills aren't relevant, you can't create jobs or boost the economy. The whole chain breaks down.
And this slide, I think, really gets to the heart of it. It's about changing how we think. The old view saw this as a lesser path, but the new reality, the one we're living in, says that these skills are absolutely essential, not just for the country's growth, but for your own personal success too. So all this leaves us with one final thought to chew on.
As we look to the future, where is the real work going to be built? In a traditional classroom or in a hands-on workshop? Honestly, the answer is probably both. And figuring out how to bridge that gap, well, that's one of the most important challenges of our time.